The reluctant vampire raises the stakes for a monster who just wants to live his afterlife. Directed by Elliot Silverstein, written by Terry Black, and shot by Levi Isaacs. Based on a story from the Vault of Horror number 20. This story sucks. A lot of blood, that is. It's nighttime, and Mr. Drink, a weary vampire, awakens from his rusty coffin in a dilapidated cellar. Drink has to get going. If he's late, he'll lose his job. In the show, the more subtly named, but still not subtle, Donald Longtooth awakens for his Monday night routine. As he drinks his breakfast glass of blood with his pet rat on his shoulder, Longtooth listens to a radio interview with a real-life vampire hunter.
I assure you, vampires are quite real.
And they really turn into bats and fly around?
No, that's just in the movies. But they must drink blood to stay alive. And it must be human blood. It is for them an addiction for which they have to kill nightly.
Mr. Drink is the night watchman at a blood bank, the perfect job for a vampire. He is greeted by his boss, Mr. Cross. Longtooth has the same job as his comic counterpart, but his boss, Mr. Crosswhite, is furious with Secretary Sally over discrepancies in the bookkeeping. The bank never seems to have as much blood as their records say they should. We are watching a story with a literal vampire, but it's the boss who is the real creepy monster.
I need this job.
Honey, you're dead weight on a sinking ship.
Please, Mr. Crosswhite, I'll get to the bottom of it.
Well, it's interesting that you put it that way, Sally, because I'd like to keep you on here. See, I like you, Sally, a lot. And perhaps we could get to the bottom of that,
Mr. Crosswhite.
Leave her alone.
Sir?
Nice try, hero.
Once alone, Drink and Longtooth feed to their heart's content from the blood bags. Longtooth turns the occasion into a full-on feast. Our vampire doesn't like killing humans, and this gives him an opportunity to quench his thirst without getting his hands dirty. When he's finished, he changes the day's records so he doesn't get caught. But tonight, to his horror, the records are nowhere to be found. Conflicted, he takes to the streets to replace the stolen blood. He finds his first victim, and Longtooth has a couple questions before draining begins.
Have you ever had any blood-borne diseases? Are you currently taking any drugs or any other medication? Have you had dental surgery in the last 72 hours? Have you?
No! Oh, God!
That is music to my ears!
Come on, my little beauty. This is good. This is very good.
As he puts blood back on the shelf, Sally comes to work early. She makes it clear she has romantic feelings for him. Sadly for Sally, Longtooth's vampiric nature prevents him from pursuing a relationship. The following night, the boss holds an emergency meeting. Unless the blood bank starts bringing in twice as many donations, the head office will shut them down. Mr. Drink will do anything to keep his job afloat, even killing for extra blood. Temporarily, of course. Longtooth has extra motivation, wanting to protect Sally's career. But he is much more at odds with the idea of killing than Mr. Drink is. He talks things over with Leo, his pet rat.
Maybe I could go out tonight. Just one more little kill? Come on, Leo, we're not talking orphans and nuns here. We're talking about the dregs of society.
I could really make a difference in this town. I could save the blood bank and take a bite out of crime.
Our vampire waits that night in the streets for a poor sucker to pass by him. He kills, he drinks some blood for himself, brings the extra pints back to the bank, and he changes the records to reflect the doubled inventory. During the day, Mr. Cross meets with Sally, discussing the upsetting murders that have been happening lately. Our vampire continues his bloody crusade. More nights and more pints. Business at the blood bank is booming. Meanwhile, there is a lot happening. The police are suspecting a vampire is responsible for the recent murders. The Blood Center's office is ecstatic about the doubled donations, and have even asked the army to give Mr. Cross an award. The cops in the show are more realistic, but vampire hunter Rupert Van Helsing warns them something supernatural is on the loose. He sees the bloodless bodies piling up. Using paperwork from an international transport company showing delivery of Transylvanian soil to a local address, Rupert finally convinces the lead detective to at least look into the potential vampire. Unfortunately, Sally has to break some bad news to Mr. Cross as he's admiring his new medal. She's been checking the blood records every night and again each morning. She's figured out the vampire around town is bringing the drained blood to their center. Mr. Cross is skeptical. Mr. Drink would have seen this happening, but Sally followed Mr. Drink that very morning. She saw him sleeping in a coffin. Mr. Drink is the vampire. Mr. Cross insists they notify the police right away. Sally tells her story and they all rush to Drink's home, ready to drive a stake through his heart. But Mr. Cross stops them. After all, Mr. Drink is the one who doubled the blood donations. The awarded medal should belong to him. He places the medal with the sleeping Mr. Drink, and the police officer pins the award onto his chest, with a stake. With a couple guns in hand, Crosswhite shows up at Donald Longtooth's lair. He knows his night watchman is a bloodsucker. The bank was never in danger. He just wanted to see how much blood Longtooth could bring in, and now he's got big plans for our vampire. But Longtooth isn't afraid of Crosswhite or his bullets. Too bad these are squirt guns full of holy water. Crosswhite wants Longtooth to keep sucking blood for the bank. Even under torture, Longtooth refuses, until the pain finally becomes too much. He gives in, but Sally has been hiding there the whole time.
I'll do it.
No, you won't.
Sally, what on earth are you doing here?
When Mr. Crosswhite followed you, I followed him. I was afraid for you.
She's known about Donald's secret for years, and she likes it. She makes a deal with Crosswhite to spare Longtooth. Crosswhite believes he has the upper hand, until Longtooth's coffin is dropped on his head, knocking him out cold. Longtooth is about to help himself to a little drink, but hears Rupert and the cops coming.
It's happy hour.
There's somebody coming downstairs. We must get rid of him. Open the coffin.
He throws Crosswhite into the coffin and hides with Sally. The law finds the passed out Crosswhite. Without hesitation, Rupert impales the man. Crosswhite has been framed for vampirism, and the police just let Rupert walk out of there. Donald and Sally get their supernatural happily ever after.
Have you had dental surgery in the last 72 hours?
This is so sexy.
I loved the mundane, everyday life of this tale's vampire. He's more blue-collar than the Count Draculas of classic vampire fiction, and more mature than the teen vampires of the likes of the Lost Boys. He's a vampire who wants no excitement until the rules of narrative storytelling get in his way. Malcolm McDowell gives one of his best performances here, as he allows the guilty joys of blood-sucking to creep in next to his no-killing rule. The duel between his wants and his nature make him more interesting than Mr. Drink, who seems to just go with the flow. The show's climax does get very busy with everybody intruding on Longtooth's home, and Sally waiting to reveal herself long after Longtooth's body is smoking raises a couple eyebrows. But the happy ending is a deserved change of pace from our usual resolutions of death and despair. Though killing Mr. Drink while simultaneously awarding him makes me smile with a big, toothy grin.
Where am I?
Wait a minute. This man's alive!
No!